Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Welcome, welcome, welcome to episode 20 of the phenomenon known to mankind as Saturday afternoon's main event. Of course, if you watched last week's episode, you would know that it was the not so much, but so much temporary farewell of the Uncle Triple C. On his way out, it seemed as if he did the honors. It seemed as if there was a change in tide. It seems like the shift of the guard took place in which the uncle went ahead, pulled back the curtain, and in the words of many people who still keep kayfabe alive, turned face. In the same sense, above speaking to the peeps nation, above speaking to Mr. 411, and lastly speaking to me, we got a side of Uncle Triple C that we hadn't seen in a very long time. Beyond everything else, I didn't get a chance to say a word once the episode was over. So before we go ahead and do anything else today, I just want to say to the Uncle Triple C, thank you. Beyond everything else, thank you. And you know what? Because it is, of course, your birthday week, cheers to you because I know you're probably sitting somewhere with a good cup of Absolute in your hand. Cheers, my uncle. But beyond everything else, and before we go ahead and say anything else, one more thing. Dominic Mysterio is the greatest intercontinental champion of all time. There, I said it. Screw you. Anywho, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, if you do not know who I am, whether you are dumb, stupid, blind, or just plain irrelevant, I suggest you go back to school, go into your local library, get the biggest dictionary you can find, preferably Merriam-Webster, and look me up under the word phenomenal. Ladies and gentlemen, it is I, the phenomenal one, and here on Saturday afternoon's main event, I'm now joined alone because, of course, I have my co-host, my brother from another mother and dimension, the one and only limousine riding, jet flying, whoa, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing son of a gun, who's not having a hard time holding his alligators down. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, on the 20th episode of this season of Saturday afternoon's main event, give me two claps and a peep stage.
Woo! Yes,
There we go.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Another great Saturday afternoon. Loaded show. We know we got lots to talk about, but of course, before we get into that, you got to make sure that you have those three tenets that you make sure that you stay tuned for every Saturday as we jumpstart your Saturday for a wrestling weekend. And that is one, laughs, haha. Two, good times, double haha. And all the wrestling news possible is number three. You can't live with those tenets if you watch our show, and if you're watching from elsewhere, thank you very much.
Ha ha ha. There we go.
Ha ha ha. There you go.
Look, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, with the change of guard, it also becomes the third member, the third man. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the host of Morton's Law, the one and only Mr. 411. I'm not doing the whole thing, man. You can do it when you come in. But Mr. Christopher Morton.
What's up, everybody? I'm here for another show. And you know why I'm here for another show?
Why is that?
Because many years ago, no one had the common decency to throw my pregnant mother down a flight of stairs. So I'm here.
And this is how we get started on
Good
Saturday
grief.
afternoon's main event, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
But look,
I understand we pull back the curtain, but that's a bit too much. Oh boy. Hopefully everybody Saturday is going to do well. Wrestling weekend.
indeed. But look, if you want to go ahead and keep up with Saturday afternoon's main event, whether it be on our social media platforms, whether it be on the show here every Saturday afternoon, we appreciate you guys. But look, if you want to follow us on our social media platforms, you can follow us on Instagram at Saturday Afternoons_main event, on Twitter at Saturday Main, and on TikTok at Saturday Afternoons ME. Well, without further ado, we have a stacked show for you guys, like Peeps Nate said. Let's go ahead and get right into it, because of course, when you hear this sound, it's time for one thing and one thing only. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is time for
Wrestling Crash Course.
Peeps. How we feeling, man? How we feeling?
We're good.
Perfect. Well, look, first and foremost, first piece of news today here on Wrestling Crash Course, WWE is expected to sign Joe Hendry soon. Oh, wow. Best kept secret in professional wrestling, right? As if we didn't know this would happen. The real question is, who's going to be on the back burner of this and on the receiving end of a release? That's the real question. Peeps, we start with you.
It's obviously a good signing whenever it happens. And I think that this signature that they've done, this working relationship with TNA is going to be predicated on which wrestlers are going to be leaving TNA at some point and landing in WWE. So I think that with that being said, it's a matter of when, not if.
Okay.
I think we all know that right now, based on how high the company is on him, the fact that he was at WrestleMania. And let's really be honest, even though we don't like how the WrestleMania match ended,
of course,
he was the undercard to the main event of night 2 at WrestleMania. That doesn't show you how high they've been on him. I don't know what else does.
Indeed. Chris, we go to you. How do you feel about this, man?
I think about 5 guys in WWE, when they heard about this news, just went, "Oh, you got to be kidding me! Oh my God, why do you do?" Because this means whenever you bring in somebody new, the brand new toy, as Tony Khan likes to have all his new toys when they come in, although he's running out of toys, that someone has to now take the back burner to this individual. Someone's going to have to put over Joe Hendry, because he's not going to come in and lose. Now, granted, you could do the Penta push where you beat a bunch of guys that don't matter, and then eventually Penta finds a way to lose. But, I mean, Joe Hendry is definitely more popular, and who knows how high he could go in this company. And so other people who are there are going to now have to sit back and watch.
Indeed.
Yes.
Indeed.
I mean, showing how prominently he was shown on the NXT episode this past Tuesday, that should let you know that they're starting their push to get him on that main roster much sooner than later, depending on what they do with that TNA World title.
You're not wrong. Well, look, we'll see when the news happens. We'll see when it kicks in. We know he still has a good amount of time left on his TNA contract. But, of course, once it's over with, we know what's going to happen. But, look, from there, we move to the world of AEW, and we move to the world of somebody who did end up leaving the company, Saraya. And, of course, the biggest story for AEW this week when it comes to the women's division and when it comes to her in persuasion of the topic, she said no to an AEW creative decision. Would it be the first time that we heard something like that? But look, the fact of the matter is, I kind of agree with the storyline that they were pushing for her. She said no to AEW creative story that they had her alongside one member, former member of the Jericho Appreciation Society, Mr. Daddy Magic. What a freaking name. Good grief. Anywho, the fact of the matter is, story goes is that Tony and creative tried to push her in a storyline where she would have on-screen involvement and a quote-unquote kayfabe relationship with Daddy Magic. But she would have to actually be physical, as in tongue action. I'm not talking too physical like Edge's sex celebration after winning the WWE title, ladies and gentlemen. Not that. Okay. Peeps don't get you crazy. But she said no to it, and she said because of the fact that she was in a relationship, aside from all of the wrestling, she didn't want to do it at all because it had no meaning to her career. Now, Chris, we go to you first.
Yeah.
Of course, the myth, the legend, the most controversial man on Same. How do you feel about the situation, and what would be the storyline that you would push for this? I just want to know.
So she said no to a storyline when in real life she's had Xavier Woods and Brad Maddox yeet all over her face on camera. So I don't know.
That's why I went to him first. Good grief.
Hey, you know what? What can you say?
You got a point there, Chris. What can you say? If you go all in there, but won't go all in here, then you get where it's going. Oh boy, I tell you, you can't make this stuff up
at all. Peeps,
yeah.
What are your thoughts on this? How do you feel about AEW creative when it comes to a story like this being put out?
This, I don't understand. I guess I would not be surprised if this was born of the storyline that they did with Angelo Parker and Ruby Soho, that they actually had a real relationship that ended up with now them having a baby, and them getting married. Maybe that was where the genesis of the idea came from. Well, if we can get that, maybe we can get Saraya to do something very similar, but on a more kayfabe level. I don't have a problem with that, because if creative has gotten the issues that it's always had, which is too many hands in the kitchen from all of the other wrestlers, something like this actually makes sense to kind of pump the brakes on. So I don't have a problem with that.
All right, you mentioned Ruby Soho. I haven't heard about her in a long time. It's
yeah,
funny, you know what a boyfriend says to her when in an argument? So-ho.
Chris.
He does bar mitzvahs and birthday parties and anniversaries. He does them all, folks.
He does them all, ladies and gentlemen, but the man. But it's funny coming from you, Peeps, the fact that you mentioned the whole on-screen thing when this is the same company that allowed Sammy Guevara to go on air with his actual real fiance, propose to her, and just about a couple of months later, dump her for Ty Conti. But that's just me. I'm just saying. You know what? I digress.
There you go. That's number one.
From kayfabe storylines of relationships to people dumping their fiancés after proposing to them on air, we move to the world of WWE and ex-WWE, because, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, not even for the ladies or the boys and girls, mostly for the gentlemen. And when I say gentlemen, I'm talking about the cuts who live in their mother's basement that jack off to Will Ospreay memes. Guess who's going to be on OnlyFans, ladies and gentlemen? That's right, Cora Jade. You're welcome. Now go ahead and spend your $20 like a jabroni every month off of your mother's credit card just to go ahead and lose it in the sauce and sit there for a second, having post-nut clarity, thinking for 1 minute that you can possibly go ahead and get this woman. But that's just me. Chris, we've seen many sacks do it, of course. Now we see Cora Jade doing it. What are your predictions for women who are in professional wrestling, who probably are getting big of pushes to get more publicity by posting on OnlyFans? What are your predictions by the end of
Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to sign up to this account just so I could body shame her.
Oh, wow.
We're only 15 minutes in, bro.
Oh, good grief.
You know what I say about all this? Whores are going to whore.
Man.
Yo, this is the first episode without Uncle Triple C, and it feels like we have Uncle Triple C here in spirit. Good grief.
Man.
But Peeps, it's to you. What is this? What does this all correlate to? Why? Just why?
I don't know why she thinks that OnlyFans is the only way to go. If she thinks that this is going to keep the irons hot while she gets ready for, maybe that's the wrong choice of words.
Yeah,
but maybe I'll look at it like this. If she's trying to make sure that she's trying to keep her name very relevant while her, I guess, the 30-day or 90-day clause ends, and then she can sign with another company, who knows? I think personally that she's probably going to end up, if she stays in the wrestling business when this is all over with, she's going to probably go to TNA. I think that it works for her since she's actually been on TNA television before and prominently featured in a couple of matches on a couple of shows. So maybe that's the thought process going in. I don't know how much more controversy it's going to cause, but we'll see where it leads.
Of course.
If only she could lay off the donut, she'd have a contract still.
Oh boy.
What are we going to do with Chris, ladies and gentlemen? Good grief. From there, we move back to All Elite Wrestling, and this is something that has been talked about for the whole week when it comes to Twitter, when it comes to Instagram. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're on social media, you're privy to this. Will Ospreay's comments. Man had a whole interview where he literally went ahead and had so many months, years of pent-up aggression towards Triple H comments about not being with the grind, that he literally went ahead, lost it, because of course, nobody's focused on him actually getting a title shot at All In. So what do you do when it comes to being All Elite and not being as relevant? That's right, ladies and gentlemen. You go ahead, tap on Twitter, or you go ahead and hop on a show, and you literally crap on the other promotion. Now, look, he said a whole bunch of stuff. He went from saying about how it's pretty much like WWE's pantomime when literally I sit there and I look at gymnastics every now and then and I'm like, you know what? Will Ospreay would be perfect to win an Olympic gold medal. But the fact that he's doing professional wrestling and he's doing all that BS within it, and he sits there and he calls another promotion pantomime when literally you know what? I digress. Chris,
There you go.
Yeah.
Go off. This is your rant.
So I want to be fair here because Will Ospreay can be an amazing professional wrestler. He has shown the work in the ring. He can be. The problem is he has a lot of bad instincts. He has a lot of bad moments in his match where he allows people to drop him on his neck 3 to 4 times, which is the Morton's Law rule, right? The match gets turned up. Hey, listen, I still had to go back and watch the end of that match with he and Kyle Fletcher because I didn't see it live because I had to turn it off. How nauseating that was, watching the two of them just have a 35-minute masturbatory, excuse me, I can't even speak, match for Tony Khan and the Sickos. But no, it's frustrating that he can say these things when he doesn't look in the mirror at all and realize that AEW, and listen, I had a tweet. I went on X and I made a comment about how he's one of the biggest culprits in the business when you make wrestling look fake because you continually not selling stuff that happens to you. And again, the sickos will defend it by saying the following, and I've heard it ad nauseum, and it makes me sick. Adrenaline rush. No, you can't get dropped on your neck 3 to 4 times without going to the hospital. You know what I mean? It's going to happen. And he just refuses to make sense of this. And the biggest problem with his matches, and again, Tony Khan doesn't produce this stuff. He lets them do whatever they want, is having 30 to 35-minute matches because they run out of stuff to do because there is no psychology. So they have to repeat the same moves over and over again. And the match wears out its welcome. And then it just makes no sense. And then the finish comes out of nowhere. And these matches have issues. And he doesn't see that. Maybe one day he'll mature. Listen, Kenny Omega has matured to a degree. His matches used to have that problem. Have they gotten a little bit better? Yes. So we'll see with him. But listen, okay, so to the comments itself, WWE has a lot of good in-ring work. Now, recently, it hasn't been the best, okay? Listen, a lot of their matches have struggled. I'm not going to say it hasn't. And, I mean, they still have the guys there that could put on really good matches without question. We're just not seeing it right now. But, yeah, I don't know. Nate?
I'm thinking along the lines of where you're coming from, and I'll piggyback on a couple of those points. One of the things that I think that we can all agree on is you just already stated. As far as Will Ospreay goes, he is, for a lot of people, a diamond in the rough. He's one of those guys that is as far as skill, as far as what he can do, he is, not to say he's a gymnast all over the place 24/7, 365. That's not the case. He is a talent that you don't see that often. He is, for a lot of people would say, he is an evolution of AJ Styles. The difference is AJ knows how to string together competent matches and spots of when to use them and the psychology of how to work when he gets hurt. So say AJ Styles gets dropped on his head once, maybe twice in a match. He's going to sell that the rest of the match so that there are certain moves within his repertoire that he would not be able to do. Or he won't go to the top rope or do one of those other moves that you would see Ospreay do 25, 30 minutes in. And I think that's the complaint that a lot of people have had with Ospreay. Ospreay has tremendous matches, fun matches, as I've called them, popcorn matches, where you just can sit down with a bowl of popcorn and enjoy what you see, given what he's showing you. The difference is he's still upset over his Triple H rift, so to speak, of not signing with WWE. What was it, like maybe 2 or 3 years ago, when Ospreay was kind of floating back and forth, kind of like an independent guy. He was in New Japan and he went to TNA for a hot second, and then he came back in AEW here and there. I think he thinks of himself as somebody that should get much more attention than he's getting now, especially since he is kind of the face of another promotion. But it doesn't feel like for him that he's getting that same attention that he deserves. And I think that's where a lot of this animosity and all of this comes from. But we already know when you're that kind of guy, stay off of social media because the internet never forgets.
But his matches are equivalent to, and other people have said this, by the way, his matches are equivalent to video game matches because you can't get hurt if you're doing, 30 minutes in, you shouldn't be able to do some of the moves he does and still fire back. And then when the match is over, he forgets to sell, if you notice. You know who's the greatest at selling after a match? Bianca Belair. Go watch her after a match. You would think like she was in a car crash the way she moves around after a match.
Yes. You know what it is, peeps? He has resiliency on Unlimited. That's what it is. Place with WWE 2K. I kid you not. Spam some resilience.
Wait, Rich, I'm sorry. One thing. Nate, you even said it too in our group text, is that he has had good matches with guys like Danielson, guys that could hold him to a standard of not doing all of the crazy stuff.
Yes.
So he can have good matches.
Yes. It's just a matter of the right opponent kind of reining him in and then kind of collaborating with the feel of the match as to where certain spots fit, where this move should go, and even more so the thought process behind why this should be in it. And that's kind of the difference.
And the low IQ, the low T AEW fans could not understand what we're talking about right now. They have no concept of what we're saying
at all.
It makes no sense to them.
But from there, peeps, you were speaking about social media and people who have these kinds of problems when it comes to things like this and why they should stay off it. We move to somebody. Patrick Queen.
What?
Ladies and gentlemen, Velveteen Dream has lost it.
Wait, what?
Gone off the ranks. Literally out of it. Guys, look, this is just came into me. This is literally have been like, it's been a story. But for some reason, he goes on Twitter, has a whole 20-minute rant, and sits there and he blames the fans as the reason why he is no longer with the WWE and why he can't be signed to any promotion and why he will, quote unquote, in real life, ruin professional wrestling for everyone. Is he coked up or what? Chris?
Yeah, no, I was not privy to the story whatsoever. It's pretty sad that somebody like him, who clearly had issues online involving, I believe, younger boys, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, no, listen, there's a history with this man of being a little erratic behavior-wise, and clearly that hasn't stopped, and he hasn't matured. He has not matured, and look, maybe he's just mentally unstable, and that will never change. Some people, including yours truly, can't.
Chris.
But I'm aware of my mental instability. I don't think he is.
And then, of course, if that's the case, the last place you want to have an emotional outburst is on Twitter or X, whatever social media you go on. When you think of what he has been accused of, why he lost his job in WWE and NXT to begin with, for him to have the temerity to blame the fans for his own shortcomings, that's rather telling on where he thinks his career is going and how much doubt he has and how much regret he probably has for what he's doing without actually taking it, his own accountability.
You know what they should do? They should start a promotion with him, Marty Skrull, Joey Ryan. Who else? Who else is committed to fence? Come on, there's another one. What's his name?
Was it Chasen Rance? I think is the other one.
No, right. And then the guy that was in AEW, the European guy, he had issues also. Not the guy with the accent, the garbage wrestler. I forget his name.
There's so many of them there. Come on.
Oh boy! Wow. Yeah, this is crazy.
Oh, jeez. But look.
Talk about control your own narrative, right? What was the name of that company that was?
Yeah, control your narrative. Wow, yeah.
Jeez, exactly. Strowman, EC3.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we can get one for sex offenders.
Oh man.
Saturday afternoon's main event, PG-13 now. Then, now, and forever, ladies and gentlemen.
I guess Chris isn't going to the Thanksgiving dinner this November. Huh?
He's still invited. Leave the man be. Please. But from there, we move to still social media, but now AEW and WWE. There's been a lot of people within social media this week. I kid you not.
No, notice the theme.
Ricochet and Javon Evans, guys. Let's talk about it.
Oh, boy.
One man goes ahead and says that he would literally go ahead and smash the man in the ring. Pause, no Diddy. Javon goes ahead and claps back and says, please, I'm out here going ahead and getting trained by Shawn Michaels while you're out going ahead and selling out 2,000-seat arenas for a crackhead.
Wow.
Yes. He went in. And that was up for about 2 days before Javon Evans pulled down his Twitter feed from that post. Yeah.
It gets even funnier, ladies and gentlemen. Because right after that, because Ricochet didn't respond, Javon Evans goes ahead and claps back with literally this. He says, sounds like Mr. Khan isn't giving you enough attention. So you had to come for a successful ass youngin'. You're giving me the most views on my post, and I'm finally helping you get the most attention you've had in your career. All love.
Yes.
You're getting cooked by an 18-year-old Ricochet. Get out of there, you bald fraud.
Listen, Trevor has issues.
Yeah. He does. He does.
Yeah, and the reply that Ricochet actually did, he said, also, by just simply mentioning my name, this is your most engaged with post. You're welcome for the exposure, kid. That was his clapback. I mean, at some point, Ricochet, just concentrate on your in-ring work, have your matches, getting in with Zach Gowen and pulling off his prosthetic leg and all that other stuff.
What's wrong with Samantha Irvin, by the way, that she's into this guy? Like, what is going on with her?
I don't know. Obviously, she's with a bald dude. Her music sucks. End of story. I'm just keeping it.
No. That's another funny thing. Javon Evans should clap back and say, hey, it's just a matter of time when your wife's music career ends and she's on OnlyFans like Cora Jade.
Wow. As I said, fans, you actually see the theme to this show.
It's one of those shows today, guys. It is one of those shows today.
Yes.
But from there, we move to the last piece of news for Wrestling Crash Course. Ladies and gentlemen, it is about damn time. It has finally happened. Mercedes Moné has lost the New Japan Women's Strong title. It happened at New Japan's show Resurgence this past weekend. And now, officially, she's finally gotten her first loss. Although, Mercedes Hogan is in full effect because she didn't get pinned, guys. Just letting you know.
Yeah.
So, does she officially finally get pinned by Jamie Hayter at Double or Nothing? That's my guess. Does it happen? Peeps?
I think no. I don't think it's happening.
You still think Mercedes ain't losing?
I still think look. You're gonna have to do what you have to do, and let's really be honest. She hasn't lost a match in 2 years up to that point.
No, you're right.
With Mina Shirakawa winning the belt, hey,
you're right.
And I think that eventually she has how many belts does she have now? She had 4 going in, so now she just has 3.
3.
Yes.
So
is she going to be the belt collector and she's going to start winning all the other championships that are out there? Because the only belt that's left for her is the AEW Women's World Title.
Not wrong. You're not wrong.
Well, that's what people speculated is we were going to get eventually, the Mercedes Moné Tony Storm match.
Absolutely. Yes.
Absolutely. But from there, that marks the end of Wrestling Crash Course. Before we go ahead and get into break, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and get to the ratings. Peeps, please give us the ratings for this past week.
Okay, and it's another ratings win for NXT, 25 weeks in a row, with NXT getting 652,000 and an 0.14 in the demo, whereas AEW Dynamite for the second consecutive week pulls 629,000 fans, same demo rating as 0.16. So yes, that's crazy. 25 weeks in a row, and overall 30-2 since the debut of NXT versus AEW, with NXT moving to the CW. We're starting to get toward Eric Bischoff type bragging.
You're not doing the story justice, sir, because you repeatedly forget about the 2.5 million watching on Max.
Oh, I stand corrected.
You mean the 5 million that actually have the app downloaded and have an account? Because that's what the metrics are, right?
Right.
Oh, anybody who just taps in on it, it's automatically a viewer. So yes, please.
Yes. Well, the good thing about this is at least AEW's rating stayed consistent for 2 consecutive weeks. If they can stay at that number next week, then we can say we now have what their median ratings are going forward, going in. So let's see if that stays that way.
It's been like this for quite a while now, aside from that 521 number. They've been consistently in the 620, 630 range. So clearly you can't run those sickos off. No matter what show you're putting together, those sickos ride to die.
Just make sure that you don't lose any of those fans, and then continue, as we say every week, try to build the audience.
Like I said before, low IQ, low T.
Indeed. Well, look, ladies and gentlemen, from there, that marks the end of the first half of Same. When we come back, we're going to get to our questions and, of course, our predictions for tonight's WWE Backlash PLE. So stay tuned. Do not go anywhere, because the second half of Saturday afternoon's main event is coming up next. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to the second half of Same. Of course, it is the phenomenal one. Alongside me, right there, of course, is the Peep Snake. Right down below us is, of course, Christopher Morton, Mr. 411. Hey, I know he wanted to hit the high guys, but he had to go ahead and do it at nauseum. But it's okay. But look, we're here to give you laughs, good times, and all the rest of news possible. We have now gotten to the point in our show where we go ahead and get to our questions. Look, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, about these questions. You want to go ahead and be a part of the show? You want to send in a question? You want to get it answered by the 3 of us? All you got to do is one thing and one thing only. DM us on Instagram at Saturday_main event. Send in a question. It will be featured on the next episode of the show. But look, with that being said, we go ahead and move to the first question. It comes from Master Shot 007. He says, greetings, gentlemen. As we all know, Goldberg is having his retirement match this year. Who should his opponent be and why? A, Gunther, B, Braun Breaker, C, John Cena, D, someone else. I think we all know that the answer is truly A here. It's been kind of like, fluttered around for the last how many months? Since last year, if we're being for real. So, in all honesty, it has to be Gunther. I sit there and I look at it, it's going to be Gunther. I would honestly love for it to be Braun Breaker so I could go ahead and see Goldberg get speared the hell out of. But, in all honesty, I think it's going to have to be Gunther. Chris, who do you think is?
I mean, I agree with you. It's going to be Gunther, but, Breaker would be the better spear, battle of the spear. I don't want to see Goldberg get choked out, So I don't know. That's kind of. I'd rather just see those two go at it and spear each other to death, and then he just takes the worst of the spear and finally loses. That might be just the better match to watch.
Yes. And I think it would benefit Breaker more than anyone based on the fact that they have just teamed him along with Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman. And what a perfect way, if that's the last match, for Braun to beat him, where it's kind of like young versus old. You know, does Goldberg's spear really do anything? If we're talking about a no-sell, not to say he doesn't sell it, but Braun just pops up and he just spears Goldberg. And he gets the pin, he walks out. Goldberg can then, wave to the fans, maybe take off his gloves, hug his son Gage, and then walk into the sunset. That makes the most sense, I think, because I don't think Walter even needs this match.
No, he doesn't.
Even if it's in the match with Goldberg. I think this would be a better match to have and elevate Braun Breaker, if anything.
Indeed. Jadinator Productions has a question in the chat. Jadinator Productions, I see the question. Don't worry, trust me. We will go ahead and get to that at Backlash because you're kind of going ahead and going in the same route that I'm going with this prediction. So don't worry, it will be used within the last part of today's show. But thank you, Master Sean 007, for the question. We appreciate it. Next one comes from Long Island, Isaiah. He says, is it bad that I want to see Austin Theory take the WWE title off John Cena by the end of the year so that it ends their incomplete feud from 2 years ago? If somehow
Austin Theory.
Wait, how about the fact he was on Raw for the first time in how long?
Exactly.
That was so bizarre that he randomly pops up to do a job. Who did he wrestle against? What was it? Yeah, right.
That goes to show you, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that goes to show.
Yo, Mondays feels so long ago. I kid you not.
I know.
It's crazy. If you think about, first off, how invested was Vince McMahon into the pushing of Austin Theory, U.S. Championship, putting the Money in the Bank briefcase with him to get a potential title shot. And for the most part, once Vince left the company, it all fell apart for him. And there hasn't really been a place other than this long, protracted breakup between himself and his partner. And we'll find out if that happens maybe by next week, because it seems like every week they're teasing a breakup between himself and
we've
Waller.
always thought Austin Theory should be in a bigger light just because of his work. When we talk about the lack of work in AEW, Austin Theory is that kind of guy. He has the psychology. He was trained by Rip Rogers. He knows the in-ring psychology. And also, you know what thought I had last night? I was watching Solo Sikoa lose again. By the way, God, talk about a fall from grace, right?
Yeah.
Aside from Austin Theory, no one has had a bigger fall from grace than Solo Sikoa.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
He's basically become a jobber to the stars now. As the kids like to say, he has lost all his aura. And I think right now, you couldn't find anyone else. As soon as Jacob Fatu has the chance to dump him, it will happen, and Solo will probably end up getting buried.
Listen,
I think that's where they're going.
If you were not related to the bloodline, this guy would be future endeavored in 6 months.
Indeed. You're not wrong. Or they would just turn him to Savio Vega. I digress.
Yeah. who would have thought the only singles title that this guy would have had with the lineage that he has and the push that he had and his association with the bloodline was the NXT North American title, which he then vacated when he jumped up to the main roster and has not sniffed a title since.
Insane, right? Just insane.
Yes, but I'll digress on that one also.
Look at that. Last question comes from Hot Rod 316. He says, would you pay $100 a month or any price to text your favorite wrestlers? People are about to be paying $16 to just go ahead and get nudes from Cora Jade.
I was just about to wonder.
I think he's talking about this. Did you hear about this? You can actually text Mercedes Moné for X amount of money a month. Yeah. I heard this on another show. They were talking about it. So people are setting this account up where it's obviously not her real number, but you can text her X amount of times for something like $40 to $50 a month. I don't think it's 100, but it's
only on the hotline. The only thing we're missing is the late mean Gene Okerlund trying to sell that whole deal. You
I'm
know,
trying to remember the price. Maybe he is right. Maybe he is 100, but
I
know
think it's 99. I think it's 99.99 a month.
Oh, it is. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
wrong.
Serious.
Yeah.
Wait,
So-
this is serious. This is serious stuff.
This is
Yes,
this is serious. Yes.
You can text her anything about the business and what she's going through, and I've heard her answer the text. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
No, I don't call it.
See, I thought
It's kind of like a subscription fan club phone line, but in text form.
See, I thought people going ahead and getting cameos was like the best case scenario for all of this, but now it's you could actually. I wonder which cuck is about to go ahead and spend that much money.
Are we all digressing on this? Chris, do I get an I digress out of you on this one?
That's your gimmick. That's your gimmick.
For the,
I would text her. I'd be like, "Hi
it's like
Mercedes."
trying to get Taker to do a spinner Rooney. Jeez,
Wait.
man, just once.
Hi Mercedes. What are you wearing right now?
Oh boy.
Hi Mercedes. Spit or swallow?
Chris, what? Oh my gosh. Can I see you with your top off if I just paid a good amount of money? Like, what
Wow.
next? Like, what's next? Like, good grief, Chris. Anywho, look, with that being said, this marks the end of the questions. Of course, as you can see, these are enjoyable to us. And Chris as well, as you can possibly tell. So look,
Yes.
you want to keep the entertainment going. You want to keep all of this going. Just do one thing and one thing only. Send a question in on Saturday afternoon's main event. In the words of the Wrestling God, WWE Hall of Famer, JBL, I guarantee you will be on the next episode of the show. Now, with that being said, we go ahead and we move to our predictions for tonight's WWE Backlash. Of course, hailing in St. Louis, Missouri, the hometown of one of the attendees of the main event tonight, Randy Orton. This is almost a sold-out show, has been close to being sold out since its announcement earlier this year. And look, of course, main event being John Cena versus Randy Orton for the WWE title. Jesus Christ, I feel like I'm in 2009. Did I really just say that? Okay. Yeah,
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. But look, the tagline is one last time. We have 5 matches on this card. It is looking to be a good show. Now, look, with it being 5 matches, I don't expect us to take too long on this. So, look. Dominic Mysterio versus Penta, singles match for the WWE Intercontinental title. Like I said earlier, Dominic Mysterio is the greatest Intercontinental champion of all time. Aside from China. Chris Jericho. Braun Breaker.
Randy Savage. Honky Tonk Man.
Jeff Hardy. i.e. 2006. I mean, can I go on, peeps? But look, current modern era, Dominic Mysterio is going to go ahead and make this whole title reign work. Of course, with a first real competitor being Penta, I feel as if this is going to be great. Give me Dominic Mysterio for the win.
Yes, that's all it is. And Dominic is going to hold on to this belt for quite some time. At least until SummerSlam.
But there has to be Judgment Day interference. Penta cannot lose clean here. I'd be surprised if he did.
Yes.
Indeed, I agree wholeheartedly. So we all have Dominic Mysterio here winning this one. Okay, so look, next match, LA Knight, Damian Priest, Drew McIntyre versus you know what I mean?
You know what I mean?
Jacob Fatu, United States title, fatal 4-way match. Give me the Samoan Werewolf to go ahead and dog walk all 3 of these men's asses.
I'm a dog walk their ass.
Exactly. So give me Jacob.
All gas, no brakes. You know what I mean?
Okay, so we all got Jacob for this. So I think we're 2 for 2 right here, guys.
There you go.
Singles match.
Yo, Drew, wait. Drew McIntyre had me laughing last night, though. His promo was really good.
Yes.
Great. It was great.
And then he did the eyes with the whole, like, yo, that was funny.
Oh, his promos are enjoyable to watch. Man.
The truth be told, Drew McIntyre is on the come up. I need to see this man with gold around his waist by the end of the year.
There's too much talent. There's so much talent there. Who do you put it on? You can't put a belt on everyone. And thankfully, they don't go to AEW route and give everyone a title.
Exactly. But, still in the end, I mean, I don't think United States gold is what Drew McIntyre needs. I feel like a world title is literally what it is, in the works for.
Yes.
But still, all in all, Jacob Fatu, just like Dominic Mysterio will be holding on to this title for a very long time.
Yes.
So
At least until they're ready to put a world title on him.
Exactly.
There you go.
Not until like what, next year? If you were to win like Money in the Bank or something, but you know, I go from there. Pat McAfee.
Argue if this company wasn't loaded with the talent it is, you could argue all 4 of these guys could be a world heavyweight champion.
Oh, indeed,
without question.
Without question, yes. But look, speaking of world champions, former world champion Gunther up against Pat McAfee. I think we all know this is going to be probably like a crazy little squash. People are saying this is what's supposed to be leading to Gunther and Goldberg later down the line at SummerSlam or towards the end of the year. I don't understand how it may fare, but you know, still, I don't think Pat McAfee is any match for Gunther. If we're keeping it $150 here, Gunther has only been pinned twice within the last 2 years. Once from Sami Zayn, the other one from most recently at WrestleMania from Jey Uso.
Think about that. The only times that he's pinned is to lose championships. That should say enough.
I think they'll give McAfee some hope spots where Gunther makes a couple mistakes to make it look like he could lose. But I don't think it'll be a 3-minute match. I think it could be about 8 to 10-ish, and then Gunther puts him away. He can't lose. I mean, that'd be ridiculous.
But by no way is this going to be that short of a match. I think they put too much effort into building up Pat McAfee, not just from the mic perspective, but the fact that he's had a couple of matches in the past. We remember the feud he had with Adam Cole, and then the match he had at WrestleMania with Vince McMahon. So I think in that sense, they're going to give him the respect to give him a longer match. But like you just said, Chris, no more than 10 minutes.
And Uncle Dave might give it 1 star because oh my God, did you see Uncle Dave dumping all over WrestleMania? Listen, we didn't love WrestleMania matches, so we'll be fair. But I mean, when you compare and contrast the ridiculous stars he gives AEW matches, I mean, Jesus.
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. From there, we have the singles match for the WWE Women's Intercontinental title. Champion, of course, Lyra Valkyria. Versus she is a real she is not even American. Miss Becky Hogan.
Oh boy.
Wait, I'm not. What do they do here? Because I don't think Lyra. Maybe is she going to get the Becky Lynch rub here? But then if you're turning,
she already gotten the Becky Lynch rub though.
Okay, right.
Well, so she beat her for the NXT title.
Heel, that's fair. Okay, so if you guys are saying this, if you're turning Becky heel, she has to win. Because then it just defeats the whole purpose of becoming heel if she loses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that. So because Lyra has already gotten the Becky Lynch rub previously at NXT No Mercy, I look at this and I see that, look, coming down the line, Becky's going to go ahead and win this match. I see it. Whether it is by a cheating fashion, whether it's through, you know, like a roll-up pin, probably catches Lyra off guard, whatever the case may be, something that would probably throw Valkyria off her game. I don't think it's a clean slate, because if it would be clean, we really call it her Hogan after that.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, being that she already got that rub earlier within her career, I don't see it happening again. There's no way Becky goes ahead and loses this match. So
unless the thought process is to build off of that promo that Lyra gave on Raw, which was probably the best promo that Lyra has done since she's been there. And I think that if they're trying to establish her with that championship as somebody that can't even be stopped by the great Becky Lynch, that's the only way that she goes in and wins that. But if they're trying to prolong this, yeah.
Or they can go ahead and just add Bayley into the slate. Have Bayley go ahead and just come in, run in,
cost of the match.
Exactly.
There you go.
That's the only way I can see Valkyria winning this.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, because it makes sense for the storyline.
You know, there's an ass I want to see on OnlyFans, Bayley. I hope she gets released soon.
Oh, good grief. So I guess we're all saying that Becky is winning this match.
Yes. Give me Becky. Not in that way. Pause.
we went off the rails today, man.
It's been a morning, hasn't it?
It's not. Yes. You think this is not PG-13?
It's not PG-13. In the words of R-Truth, I don't even know if that's PG.
Oh man.
But Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, last match, John Cena versus Randy Orton, singles match for the Undisputed WWE Championship. Give me Randy Orton to win the match via disqualification.
Wait, are we going to talk about the promo last night? What are we doing here?
We are, because we're going to go ahead and do that right now. I just wanted to see what your reaction would be towards my prediction. But when it comes down to it, are we going to talk about the fan who threw a Michelob Ultra bottle at John Cena?
First of all, at most locations, arenas around this country, they no longer give you the bottle.
That's what I'm saying.
How does a fan get a bottle?
That's why I'm thinking they had to be planting him. They had to plant him, right?
I got you.
I'm thinking it was probably planting him. Because
that makes sense.
Most arenas, I don't know how they do it in Ohio. You know, we've heard a lot about Ohio people. So, you know, who knows how they went ahead and just probably handed him the bottle. But, you know, the fact of the matter is that when it comes down to it, the fact that they're trying to build it as if John Cena gets nuclear heat when we know it's just like, look, the fans love that John Cena's like, you know, like literally on his last run.
They're biding their time. That's all they are.
Exactly.
Genuinely, the fans are biding their time.
So it's just like, to me, I sit there and I'm like, an empty Michelob Ultra bottle.
No, you're right. Yeah, the more you say it, the more it makes sense. There would have been more bottles thrown after that one bottle if that existed. So
exactly.
It was clearly
then you would have seen security throw this guy out because we've seen fans throw less and get chucked out of an arena faster than if that happened, because they showed online from the reverse of the hard camera of the fan who was probably about 8 rows back that threw it into the ring. So you might be right.
Video of the fan throwing the bottle.
Yeah, there's
a picture of the
like a full-on video. But what I'm saying is that they like security took the man out of the arena. I don't know if like like I said, it could be one of those things where it was just a plant, or it could be genuine. But still, we know people don't walk into these arenas with these cans or these bottles. It's always okay. You buy a beer, no problem. Here's your plastic cup. We'll put the beer in for you. Walk to your seat. That's how it is. So for me, how he gets his hand on an empty bottle like that when there was no liquid in it, nothing out of the ordinary, it was just like.
And the top was still on, if I'm not mistaken.
Phenomenal one. There's only bottles at Diddy parties for obvious reasons.
Those are filled with baby oil, Chris. Jesus.
No, but there's other things you can do with a bottle, if you know what I mean.
Oh boy. We've gone from Saturday afternoon's main event to
Saturday after night. After
late night after dark.
Or Skinamax.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope we get sponsored for HBO After Hours. But
there you go. That would be funny.
When it comes back to the match, give me Randy Orton to win via disqualification. And when it comes to why, Jaden Nader had answered it easily for me, because this was my notion to this. He was like, look, he's like, first and foremost, R-Truth has to get involved with Cena later this year. Question is, do you think Cena will do what Randy Orton did to retain the title by smacking a ref? If we remember, early within their one match for the WWE title, Cena was pulling out all the stops of never giving up. Yes. And then out of nowhere, once Randy kind of got back into the ring, he looked at, I believe it was Mike Chioda, slapped the hell out of him. Mike Chioda looked at him, rang the bell. There's no way one of these two guys can get pinned. We know what this rivalry is. We know how long this rivalry has been going on. We know the history these two men have. There is no way John Cena is going to go ahead and cheat to beat Randy Orton in his hometown. There's no way that Randy's going to go ahead and beat Cena knowing this early within his title reign. No, I don't see none of that happen. So the best case scenario, you want to put more heat on John Cena? Do the same thing Randy did back then. Now let's see how the fans like it when the shoe's on the other foot. Cena ends up smacking the ref, and Randy ends up winning, but Cena ends up retaining the title.
But also remember the telltale sign. The last 2 weeks, Orton has gotten the jump on Cena with an RKO.
Which is
and
why
remember, just yesterday, if you remember, there was, I guess, the plant that had on the hoodie that tried to come in, and Cena decided, oh, you're not going to catch me. He hits him with an 8, and then turns around and he still gets the RKO.
It's funny because the plant is actually recognized by many. Do you guys know who the plant was?
No, who was it?
Give it a perfect 10.
Oh, wow.
It was Sean Spears.
The artist formerly known as Ty Dillinger.
Yup,
10,
exactly.
10,
Give
10.
give
There you go.
give that reenactment a perfect 10 for me.
There you
But
go.
you know, that's what I think. Do you guys think Cena's retaining here?
Oh, without question. Yeah, they have to draw this out to at least SummerSlam with this championship. At least.
I agree.
But I want to answer the question though regarding R-Truth. I do
Indeed.
believe that makes so much sense going forward if
Mhm.
that storyline does come to fruition, where R-Truth talks about being, Cena's being his childhood hero, and then he gets to talk to Cena, and then Cena cuts a promo on him saying he's also part of the problem, just like the fans have been part of the problem.
Nah. Cena needs to beat his ass. That's what I need.
No, I wasn't done. Yeah, no, I agree. That's my point. Is that Cena says he's part of the problem, then R-Truth, you know how he plays the dumb character. So
Yes.
he keeps trying to buddy up to Cena. And Cena finally turns on R-Truth and beats him up. But then down the road, R-Truth finally has this amazing moment in his life where he
Moment of
realizes
clarity,
what's going on, right? Like a Eugene Nick Dinsmore situation.
Mm.
How R-Truth can think for himself, and then out of nowhere, Cena's world title match, R-Truth comes down and he finally gets his revenge and costs Cena the title. That would be brilliant.
And it would make more sense because then you can kind of go back to the Ron Killings of the TNA days, or even more so if you remember when he kind of turned before the stupid little Jimmy stuff was going on. If you remember on Raw, there was a time where R-Truth smoked a cigarette right on television to show this kind of edge that he had. They can go back to that and add that. It definitely works more. It works much more so than a Travis Scott.
Well, I don't need him to have an edge. He could just be a babyface that's not an idiot.
True,
I mean,
true.
he doesn't have to be edgy, but I'm saying just to have that moment where, wow, now he finally sees everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then he helps whomever win the title against Cena. That'd be great.
Yeah.
I agree. Well, look, that marks the end of our predictions for Backlash. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, that marks the end to today's show and the 20th episode of Saturday afternoon's main event. We will be back next week for episode 21. We hope you guys go ahead and enjoy Backlash tonight and all the other wrestling shows that will be behold to you throughout the rest of the week. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, this was Saturday afternoon's main event where I, the phenomenal one,
I, the Peeps Nate.
I, Mr. 411.
Yes, where we came.
we saw.
And in the words of the great Paul Heyman, we conquered.
We conquered. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this was Same. See you next week. Phenomenal one. Peace, Nate. Mr. 411. Peace, love, and farewell.